Good Sunday to you all. Welcome back to Tenacious Sports. And I just wanted to take a few minutes here to give you a video that kind of updates the standings of the Tenacious Golf Tour up through week 5. We just had, or tournament 5. We just had our 5th tournament. If you are interested in seeing some of the game action, the video of the last 6-7 holes is on the channel, listed under the most recent upload before this, and you can check it out. Some people are into that. Some people just are maybe more interested in seeing the standings. Thing is, this project is fictional players, so it's kind of a niche, and maybe extremely niche, where only just a couple of people really have a lot of but I mean, there are a lot of people who've played this pro national golf set from play. So this is my 3rd season doing it, and I feel like it's the game and the tour has had some decent results. I wouldn't say it's successful. I think that's quite, it's ambitious to think that, to yourself, that you're going to get people buying into a bunch of fictional names like Christian Canepa and Shinji Kanishi and John Westinghouse and whatnot. But, that's, you got to do something. I got that. I have some other sets. I could do those, but, some with real golfer names. I think this is kind of neat. It removes expectation for me to an extent. It gives me a chance to maybe expand a little bit on each personality. We kind of know who the studs and duds are on the PGA Tour currently. We don't really know that with these guys. Trent McAdams could be the Bryson DeChambeau of this tour. I don't know. Or he could be the Sergio Garcia, or he could be the Tiger Woods, or the Jordan Spieth. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like what you have available to you with this. Is it plays out, and you can direct the narrative. If you wanted to take notes as you play the tournament and just try and build characters that are shaped by the way that you feel they play, that is pretty cool. People do that all the time with various role-playing games, and the bottom line for me is this is a tour of guys that don't have a set expectation. You get to the point where you see the ratings and you do kind of expect that certain guys are going to do better. But there are guys that you will expect to do well that never get a sniff of the lead. And so I preface what I'm just about to say by saying, if you don't want to hear who won the last tournament, if you want to go watch it, go watch it. Evan Aldrich was one of those guys that I thought to myself, hey, this guy's probably going to win a tournament. And in 2 years, he didn't. 2 years and 4 tournaments he didn't. And he finally got his first victory. Australian, I don't know. I'm trying to think. See, I haven't really done much character development for all these players. And for him, I can't really say I've done much. And, it really should be, I kind of feel like it should be something I should be a little bit more intentional about, because it could, it could bring me to the point where I enjoy this even more than watching Bryson and Dustin and, all the other golfers out on the current PGA Tour. Probably not, but you just never know. Actually, I'm not going to be sitting there watching the Valspar Championship this weekend. I would rather be playing. So let's just go ahead and take a look at what's happening on the tour over 5 tournaments. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what will happen in the very near future and what's to come. Try and give you some, some thoughts on players, the standings, the schedule, all that good stuff. So here we go. Okay, so I was just looking back at that first little segment that I did, and it's too bad that they don't make these anymore. This makes me, I'm still proud of this guy. My play cup, it's got a little dust on it. I think the dust gives it a little bit of ambiance there, so to speak. But I'm going to put it right there. It stays right there on top of that little receptacle. So on the screen here, I'm going to be looking over in this direction. So if I'm looking over here, that's because I'm trying to narrate what's on the screen. So, this is my little Google Drive. You see this leaderboard. This is actually how I can show the leaderboard in live action. But what I'm interested most in right now is this guy, which is the Tenacious Golf Tour Season 3 Master Spreadsheet. So here we go, and we've already... Didn't I update this? I did. There it goes. For some reason it didn't update. Or it took a little bit. So there we go with Evan Aldrich as your winner at the Pacific Golf Links. So 5 different winners, which is nice. Yeah, like it's, I want to definitely have a couple of repeat winners, or maybe 5 or 6 repeat winners. That's fine. A couple who win 3, a couple who win 4, whatever. Having what I did last year, which was Dustin Emmerich win, I think it was 10. It was just like outlandish. And I think this, so you can see over here the tier. This was a special tournament, but then we've had C, B, B, B. I've explained this in a different video. This is the way that coupling some recommendations from a writer to play about how best to to moderate the number of top golfers in each tournament, with some of my own stuff, and then I think I was interacting. It might have been with a guy named Paul Gauvier. I can't remember. If it was him and he was watching this, thank you. If it wasn't him, then whoever it was who had a little bit of discussion. I mean, Larry Rice is another guy who I've also had a lot of back and forth with about the various mechanisms of this. Suffice it to say, we're just the A tournaments, you're going to get the top field. The B tournaments, kind of a middle of the road field. This Pebble Beach one, that's kind of what it was. And it's kind of neat because I think this was the most diverse field and the most diverse leaderboard. The field, I think, was actually better than what it seemed. But this leaderboard had a lot of custom cards. It had some of the big names. It had a couple of middle-of-the-road PNG names. And it was pretty neat. So, we've had Aberley, Wallace, and Aldrich. And these guys probably all should win tournaments, right? And those 3 B tournaments. And then McAdams got to win in the C tournament. I'm really hoping that we get in the C tournaments. It'd be nice to have maybe a third of them to a half of them be won by back markers, no names. We'll see. That just because you get that on the PGA Tour. You get Duffy Waldorf coming up with a win out of his hindquarters. You have guys who just like all of a sudden pop up. At the Masters, we saw, and I shouldn't have even brought this up because I can't remember his name, but you've had a guy in the majors even who finished like second, and he finished pretty well in, I think it was the U.S. Open, in this like pandemic messed up kind of year when the US Open was done in October. But so you get variability, and that's kind of what I would like to see more from this game. And I think I'm hoping that it's just in the first couple of seasons I have hit a lot of top golfers just luck. And then granted, like I said, the first couple seasons, the way that I did rest or player usage was not nearly as affected as this is. This has, and I've demonstrated it to myself using an analysis of various ways. We're pulling out here the right number of top golfers in each of these tournaments. And so the next tournament is going to be Silverado, another C tier tournament. Out of the top. Now, the other thing is this is all based on last year's numbers. Now, all of the guys who have won tournaments, and most of the guys who have finished in the top 20 in these tournaments are top golfers. So, it's not like the top 20 has changed a ton. But, that's really, or the top 50. It's like that, but that's what we really want to do, is we want to get the big names off of the C tier for the most part. We want to have like 5 to 10, might be 10%, I forget exactly. We want a few of those, and we want lots of the guys trying to scrape out a living, trying to break through, trying to get that elusive victory or a top 10 or just anything to give them a potential to be able to make the top 125, get that. I mean, we aren't going to have a playoff in this. I've already decided that's not going to happen. But I need to really think about now season 4. We're not very far into this season, but I need to really kind of like list out, this is how we're going to determine season 4's field makeup or priority list makeup. So that's going to be in my mind the next few weeks. But the other thing to mention before we go into like looking at player points and stuff, you got it over here on the right. There's let me see. I need to do it over here. You can see that we have this cell right here that says reshuffle after the next tournament. So on the PGA Tour, and I've mentioned this in another video, maybe in a couple. On the PGA Tour, guys who were from the Korn Ferry Tour who like graduate and qualify for the PGA Tour at specific marks in the season, so they're given a rank to start the season based on their points that they had on Korn Ferry. And so if there are 156 golfers needed for a tournament and it gets into this group, some of these might get in, some of these might not. And what you're hoping is that you get enough tournaments where you get all of them into where you can get like a fair appraisal. But what they do is they reshuffle this after a certain number of tournaments, and it's based on the current season points. And that's what we're going to do after Silverado is the guys, we're going to reseed. And so the guys who have more points out of those particular categories, they're going to get kind of pulled to the top, and it's going to give hopefully those guys a chance to maybe, it's to try and incentivize good play. The guys who play well have more opportunities, hopefully, to get into tournaments like, if you look for the next B tier tournament after this, it's actually not till after it's the Coastal Heritage, but maybe one of those guys will get into a B tournament instead. And if they hadn't gotten reshuffled, they wouldn't. So, or maybe they get into the Players, the Sawgrass Championship, things like that. There's just marks that can come up. So that's kind of what we're going to do with this. Trying to take what we know from watching the PGA Tour and apply it to this setup where we not only have Pro National, we also have these custom cards that I've made. And anyway, so let's take a look at the money leaders. So Evan Aldrich, by virtue of his victory at Pacific Golf Links, takes over lead. He's had 2 top 10 finishes, but you can see here, so let's see, why Aberley and Wallace are not in first, but Aldrich is. Let's take a look. So Aberley, Wallace. Aberley is third, played in the same number of events, and actually had 2 more top 10 finishes, but Aldrich has probably been a little more consistent. I haven't really it would be good to analyze. Now, Wallace, he's only had 2 top 10 finishes, but the other thing is Aldrich probably, maybe his top 10 finish, if his top 10 finish was in the Aloha Tournament of Champions, which was worth a little bit more money, then, and maybe he's had more in the top 20. Maybe he was just outside the top 10, whereas Aberley and whatnot. So, but you can see here, Wallace has only played in 2 tournaments, and he's finished in the top 10 in both of them. So, and you can see where Aldrich and Aberley, they have kind of unfairly ended up playing in all of them. So, this is where we're hoping as the season goes on, these guys will then get some tournaments off later on. But again, I'm using random number generators and stuff, so I am at the behest of that, and that's fine by me, because golfers are going to have their own personalities. Some guys are going to take more time off than others. Some guys are going to be like ball busters, hard workers, want to be out there all the time, working on the game, playing in tournaments, and might get like a 70 to 75% rate of tournament play, versus some might get 50. So in this case, maybe Evan Aldrich is a guy who's just wanting to play a lot. Same with Aberley. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I would really like to it would be nice to somewhat see everybody be within sort of a standard deviation of, but it may not be possible, because we're also talking like sample size, and we have only a handful of each type of tournament. So you just don't have enough instances to get various scenarios to play out, or the statistical distribution to play out the way it was. So we'll see what happens. McAdams has had a tournament off, and I'm suspecting these other guys will, and it could be Silverado. But I'm not going to game my system just because I think, Aldrich and Aberley both won a tournament, they're going to want a week off. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So $2.1 million for Aldrich, almost 2.1 for McAdams. They're not that far off. What, like 50,000, 60,000? That's a nice car or two for me. It's probably half of one of their cars that they like to drive. But you got Aberley, Wallace. So at the moment we have 7 millionaires on tour so far, and Trenchard's just about ready to get there. He has 3 top 10 finishes. So just kind of scroll down the list here, you can see Emmerich. He's only played in 3 so far, just outside the top 10. We'll see if he plays in Silverado. And again, the other thing about this is everything has been done except for one tournament in spreadsheets. I did the one tournament on the tabletop where I used the cards and did the typical like shuffling and drawing the cards that way. I do all of that in spreadsheets for most tournaments, so my confidence in the randomness of things is pretty high, and I think it's going to end up benefiting me, because I've as I mentioned in past years too, past seasons, I get concerned about making these custom cards that it's tough to get them sized just right to not create some kind of a bias in the process. So having it all done on spreadsheet kind of prevents some of that. So we're just gonna run down through here. Take a look. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm scrolling here. If you see your favorite golfer, great. Let's see. So there was Remington Ramirez. He's got a top 10 finish. He's at 38. 243,000. That's a good payday. Brennan there. We didn't really see too much of him in Ramirez. Who was the guy that was Bruno Friedman? He was up there. Let's see. Does he get in the top 10? He does. He's right at the edge of the top 10. So he is the highest custom card at the moment. So we'll see if he can keep going here. But I kind of like stop that. There's Zelderloo, new name. He's from the PNG. He kind of like graduated from the previous tournament, or the Slacker Tour. So that's my version of the Corn Ferry. I mean, in the first 2 seasons we talked a ton about these names because I was putting the process on and stuff. That's not so much. I mean, at some point I may just go ahead and go through my spreadsheet process on the channel. I feel like it gets a little repetitive if you do the cards all the time. So right up here through Sudbury, so Olinger, Leon Bay, and Sudbury are your top 125, and this is all like brought together within the spreadsheets. Google Drive does a pretty good job of that. Points, not much different. McAdam's actually in front on points, but it's not by much, and I guess that's probably just based on, you know, the average finish, so to speak. Maybe the finishes were better, but the money doesn't or the money varies, the points don't, except for majors. And you know, playoff events they would be more, but we're not worrying about that. We're not doing a playoff, so it'll just be the majors will be worth more points. But generally speaking, tournament finishes are going to be kind of like mostly harmonized here. So I'm not going to go all the way down through the points, but scoring leaders, and this is not right. Let's fix this to tournament 5. I think that updates everything. Yeah. Why didn't it update that? I put 5. Oh. I thought I did. Alright. Well, so Laufenberg comes in with the lowest scoring average with McAdams and Aberley and Van Dyke, Aldrich. Again, this also varies some based on the tournament. You know, playing well in a tournament that has a low low scoring average for the tournament, that will help you. So anyway, so that's basically it. Not too much else to talk about. Maybe just real quick, the Slacker. Need to take a look at this because my date, so 3/12, the season here was in. So this Arnie's tourney, which will be after Silverado, it comes up the same weekend as the first Slacker Tour, which is the Girth Watch Tar Heel Kickoff. So I've designed one, and I plan to design 2 more golf courses before before this is all said and done. It's tough to find the time to just sit down and do all the analysis and get them kicked out, but I still have to do Landings Club down near Savannah, Georgia, just outside, and then Farmington in Utah. I'd like to do both of those. I've already designed Peak and Peak from New York, so that's out on the web, and then you can see these other courses here have all been designed. You can find them if you go to the Delphi forum. So if you want to play some Corn Ferry Tour courses, that's what these all are. They are out there, and I think there might even be one more that isn't listed here that has been designed so far. So there's that. So anyway, that's where we stand with that. I'm going to keep trying to kick through some baseball. I don't know how many I'm going to put on the channel, but I need to start getting a little bit more, get the ball rolling and the wheels spinning and all. I mean, I feel like the wheels are a little bit spinning. There's a lot going on in my life. It's for all of us, but you know, it wasn't like for a decent portion of last year where kind of like we were stuck at home. trying to get out and play some golf, trying to get out and enjoy some of the weather, get the lawn mowed, all that good stuff, spend time with family. So this time here isn't always available. I did get done with the Tenacious Football League, and so you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get that up here while I'm thinking of it, and just show what is left of it, which is not a whole lot. These are the standings. This is the way it ended. Tennessee basically won based on differential. They've got first place. That was, let's see, Titans and Raiders. So they met in the final week, and the Titans came out on top, if I recall correctly. Take it down to the bottom, and they did. It was 20-9. So Oakland and Kansas City came out pretty close to their real record from 2016. Oakland was right on, 12-4. Kansas City was also 12-4 that year. They ended up 11-5. Tennessee, I think they were around. You know what? I'll bring it up. Just hang out for a second. But I had kind of taken a little bit of a look at this, and then it got. So hopefully everybody enjoyed whatever draft coverage they got a chance to check out. Hopefully your team got what you were looking for. That's not what I wanted to do. I hate on Pro Football Reference where you get ads that pop up and it causes you to miss the link that you want to click. So I can bring it up on the screen here, but instead I'm just going to. So Tennessee was 9-7. They go 12-4. So they may have played a tougher schedule. Let me see. Their strength of schedule was actually. So I don't know. I think maybe their defense just played better than what you would anticipate. The defenses did pretty well in this game, from what I could tell. Baltimore 8-8. They go 11-5. So those two teams overperformed. Jacksonville overperformed. They were 3-13 in that season. They ended up 8-8 in mine. So, not having to play the Texans and the Colts probably helped them out. Now, I will say that the Jaguars had a tougher strength schedule in 2016 than the Titans. So, maybe that bore out some. They have a good defense. When you're playing with Bortles, though, it's up and down, but they were able to. So then, I already talked about the Chiefs and the Raiders. Buffalo and Miami. So Miami, they're another underachiever. They went 4-11-1 in my project. They went 10-6 in the AFC East. And Buffalo finished at 7-9 in the AFC East, and they get 8-8 here too. So, I don't know if, maybe I had a little bit of bias one way or the other. I hope not. I really wanted to try and play it as straight up as possible. I will say they were playing a lot from behind, the Dolphins. It caused, like Jarvis Landry, I'll show you, he was like way over his catches than what he needed to be because they were playing catch up a lot. So then we have the NFC East teams here. Carolina and Chicago, they both were bad, and so Chicago, it was 3-13 in real life. They go 2-14. Carolina 6-10. They go 3-12-1. So, things mostly were according to plan, we'll say. But let's see, stat leaders. So we'll just take a quick peek at this. So Derek Carr finished with the best quarterback rating, 95 out of qualifiers. Mariota was second with 91. Joe Flacco also at 91, just beaten out. You got Alex Smith there with an 89, 84 for Bortles and Tannehill, pretty much the same rating there. So you can see Barkley threw 21 interceptions. his rating was pretty ridiculous for interceptions. So rushing, we had 3 1,000-yard rushers. We had DeMarco Murray, LaShawn McCoy, Jay Ajayi. Murray was the only one on a team who made the playoffs. We had Howard finishing about 71 yards short of that. And then, Latavius Murray finishing 855. Maybe at some point I will bring up some kind of a actual comparison to actual numbers. Typically, the yards per carry are a little low for each guy, so for what it's worth. Jarvis Landry with 122 receptions, and this is... Let me go to Dolphins because that little pull-down menu is not working so well. So, rushing and receiving. See, receiving, Jarvis Landry with 94 in real life. He gets 122 and 1,500 yards in my sim, 1,100 in real life. So about the right yards per catch. He was 12.1 in real life and 12.7 in mine. Let's see. I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but you can see Landry, Crabtree. We have almost, was it 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 1,000-yard receivers. With Miami getting 2 of them, Landry and Parker. You got Oakland with Crabtree and Cooper getting 2. You got Mike Wallace hit 1058. Kelsey and Olsen, a couple of tight ends up there. So, and then I have some other stats compiled. So what I will probably do once this kind of I just kind of want to let it settle out and not be so... what I'm finding, I don't know, I haven't played any other football games yet. What I'm afraid I'm going to find that football tends to be a little bit, it can cause you a little bit of stress because the games can kind of lose touch in certain ways. You're going to get a number of games that are blowouts, and when you're spending 2 or 3 hours playing a game, a blowout becomes a little boring. Especially when you're using guys like Bortles and Barkley who aren't exactly lighting it up. And then the last game of the season I had, it was Buffalo and Jacksonville? Buffalo and Carolina. So I had Cam Newton and then a combination of E.J. Manuel and Cardale Jones throwing for Buffalo. And an early interception helped Buffalo win that one. They got an interception off of Newton, but it's I think with football, because like I said, it just takes, in terms of scale, football seems like it would be, the football versus baseball, you think, a football, you play 16 football games for a team, and you play 162, so that's a tenth, right? So if a baseball game takes you 30 minutes times 10, if it takes you less than 3 hours, then you're kind of better off in the long run. But for some reason, football doesn't always feel like that. So anyway, but I am going to do playoffs, and I'll do Tennessee at home versus Kansas City, Oakland versus Baltimore. I probably will play it on my own time and not try to make videos of it, but we'll see. Not 100% sure. And then do the championship game. But at this point, I'm just trying to just take full consideration of what's going on. So anyway, thanks for watching this. A little bit of golf, a little bit of football. Talked a little bit about baseball. I'm going to keep working on that, but hit like. Stay tuned. We'll have some more stuff here on the channel at some point this week, probably. This week is actually one that's not quite as jam-packed with stuff to do, but anyway, just hang in there, guys. Appreciate your support, and we will see you soon back here on Tenacious Sports. Thanks a lot.